Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to engage with you today, and thank you for attending our session. Very excited to have this time together. As Tom said, it would be really fantastic to be in person, but I appreciate your patience as we continue down this journey of everything remote. My name is Jeff Paliga. I'm responsible for our business development for our global data center offering. And today we spent a little time covering off what we're seeing in the market for the data center, some of the trends and drivers, share a little bit with the Panduit strategy, how we find opportunities, where we see the opportunities in the data center space, and then cover off a couple spots where we're investing pretty heavily to capitalize on this wonderful market. The data center market, just to share with you globally, has been fantastic, right? And unfortunately, there was a pandemic that drove a lot of that. But as we talk about digital transformation and companies expediting their investment in IT spend, application spend, data center spend, it's really provided a tremendous amount of growth, opportunities, and challenges. Some companies have fared better than others. And I think that's really sort of magnified the need as we talk about, as Tom covered even on the enterprise side, right? Sort of future proofing, planning for the future. Again, not necessarily over provisioning, but having a nice seamless migration plan going forward is more prominent now than ever. And those companies that we work with that have done a good job are obviously seeing those results and benefits. The companies that weren't as prepared or weren't investing or weren't thinking in those terms are going to have some difficulties, but the challenges and opportunities still remain. So let me just move through the slides here. So again, I talked about a little bit, we're going to mention the market trends and drivers. So I wanted to start with this slide. We hear this term quite a bit, this hybrid IT term. I'm kind of a person, very pragmatic. When I hear these terms, I'm always curious to find out what that means from a technology perspective, what that means from infrastructure perspective, what that means for us as partners and customers and end users. What does it actually mean? What's the impact on our business? And it's quite interesting. Hybrid IT, it's many things, but really at the core of it, it's now a list of opportunities, right? Or options for the data center owner, operator, business owners, line of business owners, to have an ability now to place applications, because that's what data centers exist for, right? To support applications. It's now a list of options or opportunities or alternates to actually deploy those workloads wherever it makes the most sense, meaning cost-wise, performance-wise, security-wise, growth-wise. So years ago, we used to talk about a data center solution. That's not the case today. Today, it's data center solutions, plural. In each of these segments, whether it's on-prem, which is on-premise, typical enterprise data center, co-location or multi-tenant data center, cloud or hyperscale, and even at the bottom edge, right? Edge is this new and up-and-coming piece. When we look at this space, we don't look at putting one of these segments against the other. So for example, we're not saying on-premise is competing directly with co-location or edge is competing with cloud. The way this is all working is there's an orchestration needed, right? And this is where the opportunity comes in for us, is to work with our end users and our clients and our customers and partners to figure out, really have the discussion. What is your IT strategy? What is your roadmap? Are you going to be deploying? You will be deploying, I can say that. You will be deploying some type of a hybrid approach, which means no longer can we talk about a design and build of a data center that they're going to own and operate, or if they have 10 of the same type of data centers, they're going to put their applications in multiple physical locations. And therein lies the opportunity. The good news is the layer one infrastructure that Panduit provides and Trident provides will be necessary no matter what space they're locating those applications in. But there will be an opportunity to have this diversification. So when you look at the market size, right, we put a couple of statistics up there. You can see where the CAGR, the compounded annual growth rate, that's over the next couple of years, where the growth is coming from. Obviously, co-location and cloud are the largest in terms of percentage. But when you look at market share, what we always like to remind people, if you look back at that on-premise all the way to the left, that is still about 70% of the market share. So again, we're not saying don't focus on that business. That's a big footprint. There's a lot of legacy systems in there. There's a lot of opportunity to renovation and upgrade and put in next generation technologies and do it in a way that wasn't really known before, right? So you don't want to just revamp those on-prem sites the way they were built before. We've learned so much in the past 5 years or so that we have some best practices that are very specific for each of these regions. So again, when you hear hybrid IT, think about what your customer, mainly that end user, is going through. He or she has got to figure out where to put these applications, where does it make sense, And there's a lot of challenge there. And that's where we can step in and help, work through these options and have some best practices in each of those locations. So when we look at what's really driving it, right, as I said, as a person that's been in the data center business for a while, I use this quite often. People normally don't want to build a data center, right? They have to build a data center, which is good. They have to support those applications, their business needs, the healthcare needs, the educational needs, the government needs. There's a reason that they're built. But what's driving that transformation, as you look here, is customers sort of reassessing and rethinking what that means. So at the end of the day, customers want to focus on their core competencies. If I'm a bank, if I'm a hospital, if I'm a government, that's my expertise. I need this data center, I need this technology, this IT deployment to help me run my business. But through that, they want to focus on the core competency, which means we need to work on simplifying, the physical security that supports that. We have to improve the network performance, and we really want to streamline the long-term planning. Again, when you think about the previous slide, hybrid IT, this is what customers are dealing with. It's no longer just that one data center or the 5 data centers they own. They're looking to manage, and a lot of that stuff becomes outside of their control, so to speak, the day-to-day. So they want to focus on a core competency. Therein lies our ability to partner and bring that expertise to help them in that journey. Secondly, flexibility. We hear about data centers all the time. They used to be monolithic and stagnant. That's not the case today. They have to be flexible. I'll say agile. In many cases, things need to scale up. Sometimes things scale down depending on your business needs. The workloads get moved depending on how the workloads were designed. Were they cloud enabled? Were they legacy systems that have to migrate, right? There's a lot of workloads that aren't just going to go away. They're going to have to be maintained and supported going into the future. And then, of course, remote employees. I touched on this in the opening. Everything remote today. Everything's remote. E-commerce, education, healthcare. It's just full of potential to make these data centers flexible and agile to take on that type of workload. And then lastly, you can't speak about these investments without talking about CapEx and OpEx, right? And so, a number we've had for a long time, for about every dollar it takes to build a data center, there's about $10 to support it over its lifetime, right? So we can't just stop at the front end investment. There's an ongoing day-to-day cost, operational cost, where really the savings and performance come out on the operational side. Having the environment that's agile, that has some level of intelligence, that can adapt, is really where customers are going to benefit, right? Because as much as we want to talk about next generation roadmaps and where things are going, we can't always get it right. We don't know exactly what the future holds. But if we looked at things, we looked at building out data centers that are very predictable, we can limit that capital outlay, or we can extend the life cycle of that data center, extend that investment. That's a huge upside for the customers, right? And then anything we could take out, if there's lengthy processes, you'll see again, the hybrid IT model, not only is it different and provides options, but there's a pace of business that is much different in the past, right? As opposed to building your own data center, designing it and operating it. When you go into a co-location site or a multi-tenant data center, the rate at which applications are stood up and the environment it runs is very quick. So there's not a lot of time for long-term planning. It has to be done quickly and collaboratively. So when we look at the opportunity size here, there's a couple categories, a lot of numbers here, but I can tell you these are, in my opinion, these are very good numbers, right? When you look at the CAGR, the compounded annual growth rate, whether it's for IP traffic, 41%, that's incredible. Is anyone's business out there growing 41% a year? It's amazing. The number of internet users, here's where I just want to spend a little time, right? So in your region, right? And again, this has probably been expedited with the pandemic, but when you look at the number of internet users, 32%, which is roughly a third. These numbers tell me your region is full of opportunity and potential to move forward, right? As we've seen this in other theaters in other countries and parts of the world, as that number of internet users adopt and become more, day-to-day users of the internet itself, all the other applications, the IT builds outs, the investments, the data centers, the business levels just rise, right? All boats rise, in a rising tide. So there is a lot of potential in the region as more users come on, become more daily users of the internet. Tremendous growth. And then when you look at network devices, 8% growth is really strong. And then you look at where broadband speeds, these are all interrelated, right? As the number of users grow, as the amount of internet traffic grows, video traffic specifically, IP traffic, all the numbers are going to go up. So the point here is strong numbers in the region, great opportunities for all of us. And we can expect more of this to come as we move forward here. And again, I would expect a lot of this has been expedited with the current pandemic and some of the investment for all the remote users. Okay, so from that, how does that relate to our strategy and something called a growth priority strategy for Panduit. So the good news here, these boxes, these columns cover basically our 4 core tenets or pillars of our data center strategy. And we march against these all the time. Now we monitor and adjust against these, but really what we're looking at is, you can see that on-premise data center business, I mentioned that's still 70% of the business. So we want to protect and grow. It's full of opportunity for renovation and upgrades, but we also know we have to work with the fastest growing segments, accelerated growth in the colocation and hyperscale providers. And so the way we do that is these 4 categories. We focus on solving market challenges. We want to grow the partner community. We want to really excel at servicing those partners and customers. And we're looking for that innovation to create market value. Now, these may look like high-level words to you, but I can assure you the way we approach this is very much firsthand, with absolute validated information. So what do I mean by that? When we look at focusing on market challenges, I'll show you a couple slides coming up, but we really want to understand what those top of mind challenges are. Like I said, when we engage with customers and partners, we want to make sure we understand where the business needs are, where they might need help. And then we drive into that, whether it's products or systems or programs. We have to solve those market challenges. Every day we're being challenged to provide the value. How is it tangible? How is it measurable? And that's at the core of what we do. Next category is grow the partner community. So events like today, in the next couple of days, right, with Trident, with yourselves, as much opportunity is out there. Nobody can do it alone, right? It's just too complicated. It's just the scope is too far. You have to have a partner community to excel in these spaces. So we know that, we value that. So times like this, these events that we're participating in, are hugely important for us to strengthen that partner community. Additionally, as we excel, right, the pace of business is just changed. And this was prior to the pandemic, right? We saw this accelerated growth happening pre-pandemic, but it's really been magnified. But the way we do business, the way we transact, the way we engage, the way we share information, that's at the core. You have to have quality products. You have to have that breadth of product, but you have to be able to service customers and partners at the pace of business that they expect. And then lastly, innovation. At the core, Panduit is a global manufacturer, high quality manufacturer, and we take pride in that. And so when we look to innovate, we look for ways, again, not only on the initial design, but are the ways that these products can help operate and migrate in the environment where there's operational efficiencies, there's capacity provisions built in. And we think of all those things down to the extreme detail for our customers. And then the way that we wrap that, right, is with global dynamic marketing. Our supply chain's been an interesting year, right? No question there, but we understand those products have to get out to where they need to be. So we've had a lot of interesting new innovations and new approaches around our global supply chain that are going to help us, that are helping us now and will help us into the future. And again, then tying it back to some digital capabilities at the pace of business, rate, the way people want to engage, how they engage with us, are all top of mind and all part of our data center strategy. Okay, so when I talked about the segments and where we focus, a couple of them. So this is specific to cloud providers, right? I could tell you 7-8 years ago, we were talking about a single data center solution. Well, as times have changed, right? We've gone out and understood these cloud providers are very influential. They're growing tremendously, but we don't stop there. As part of that strategy, right? Focusing on market solutions or market opportunities. These are the things that they're most concerned with. Their time to market, operational efficiency, and safety and security. And I'll start with the last one first. Interesting enough, safety and security in a cloud provider environment, a hyperscale provider environment, huge footprint, physical footprint, a lot of square meters, right? There's an element that comes with that. There's inherent risk as you employ more folks, you have more property under your portfolio. The safety issues become more and more prevalent. They're always top of mind, but we're seeing a huge opportunity here for us to go in and do a couple of things. Look at the customer's environment from a safety standpoint, be able to recommend safety products that help them move forward. The human side, the element is equally as important as any of the elements, and more important, but we're seeing a huge uptake and interest in business in having safety and security elements built into these environments, right? So, and then of course you can work it backwards. Everybody's looking at operational efficiency, but with cloud providers, they want consistency. They want that same look and feel. Again, they have to, at the scales that they're building, they don't want a mixed environment. They want it very predictable. They want it repeatable, and they want to have it anywhere they want in the globe, around the world. Of course, time to market, right? These environments are spun up very quickly. So a company like Panduit, as I've talked about previously about our agile supply chain, that has become such a benefit for our customers and partners that Panduit has a global footprint, true global capabilities, and we can deploy these solutions anywhere in the world. I think a lot of companies in the past were winning in a maybe one product category in one part of the world in one region. For cloud providers, it has to be breadth of product and available in any corner of the world. And then just another one to show, again, co-location providers, very interesting space, right? Because here you have the providers themselves, and then you have tenants that occupy that space. So this is a great opportunity for all of us, right? As you know, Panduit, Trident, we have great relationships with end users. Goes back to one of the first slides I showed, that hybrid IT, understanding where those tenants, where those end users are going. Are they going to put in disaster recovery sites? Are they going to be in a co-location facility, hyperscale, on-prem? Is it a mix, which it probably will be? Do they have an edge deployment strategy? So from that, again, this is very interesting to understand who we're speaking to in the space. So in this area, onboarding customers and workloads, again, the pace of business here is amazing, right? So that has to be done quickly. Very similar here is to the cloud. They want standards, right? MTDC providers, colo providers want a consistent environment. You don't want any inherent risk, right? You don't want any unknowns, whether it's outages or designs or configurations. They want that consistency across the board. And then the third one says streamline vendor relationships. This is hugely important for us because Panduit for years has had the strongest, widest breadth of product. That alone can help simplify this. This helps the vendors, the MTDC providers, not have to go out for 7 different requests for quotes or requests for proposals, right? It can be done quickly through our work, the breadth of offering, and making it simple for these folks to go in and specify the products they need and not have a long drawn out process to actually specify and bring equipment in. And then again, backed by a company like Panduit, when Trident, we can deliver that into those regions quickly and efficiently. So I just want to spend, I just have a couple more slides. So I mentioned earlier, I want to share where our mindset is, where we're looking for investments. It should come as no surprise. So fiber solutions, when you look at the breadth of products inside the data center, I could go on and on, right? Panduit covers pretty much every element inside the space, but just a couple of the product sets here we're looking at from fiber, just so everybody knows, our goal is to lead and win and be innovative in the fiber space. And we're doing a great job, right? The feedback we're getting, the investments we're making, the product developments we're putting out, really encouraged by what the team's been able to do here. So when you look at things newer coming out in OSF and ODF, and optical splice frame, optical distribution frame, something we haven't had in our portfolio, Panduit's going to be bringing that to the market here very soon, and by fourth quarter, in fact, by the end of this year. Pathways, we continue to lead in the fiber runner space, but looking at more traditional pathways, wire basket, again, building out our portfolio. Going to continue to invest in fiber, whether it's patch cords, OM3, OM4, OM5, high fiber count assemblies. Connectivity is one of our specialties where we're accelerating, right? So there's a whole roadmap. A lot of these products, by the way, are introduced, or if they're not, they'll be out in the next 2 months. And our HD Flex system, right? So this is core of where we are. We truly see the innovation. We're going to continue investing in this space. This is one of those foundational elements, regardless of what type of data center you have, on-prem, co-location, hyperscale, cloud, or edge. Fiber is going to continue to be a strong place inside those environments. So Panduit is investing. I talked about the growth priority strategy. That means we're accelerating our focus and our investment in this area. Secondly, and lastly, the other area is power, right? When I think of data centers, I think of many different things, but when you boil it down, there's really 2 major elements: data and power, right? You have to have those 2 things for a data center to actually work and be functional. So when we look, in addition to the fiber investment, Panduit's really looking at the power solutions inside the data center. It's a natural adjacent piece for Panduit. When you look at all the challenges inside the data center, when you talk about power and cooling, they're interrelated. So whether it's things we have today like the rack mount PDU, looking at in-row UPSs, there's environments, there's security, there's pieces, the intelligence sides come with that. So there's the DSIM element. So today, what I can tell you is when we look at what's inside there, it's not a static environment, right? Power is one of those things that need to be monitored. It's a big cost center, it's a big opportunity, but you have to have some level of intelligence to go in there. So we're not promoting just putting in power units. There has to be some level of intelligence, some type of software to override that, to bring that in, then environmental information, security information, power information. This helps with capacity planning across the board. So again, data and power, 2 primary things for Panduit. Just want to share with you, this is a huge investment area for Panduit, and you'll see us continually roll out new product sets as we go forward around the power segment. So with that, went through a quick high level. Again, I just would like to say thank you for attending. I hope you're having a great afternoon. I know the Trident team does a great job there. Thank you for partnering with Panduit. If you're for customers, thank you for your business. We look forward to our continued mutual success here with yourselves and the Trident team. And again, we hope you're able to join us. We'll be presenting a little bit more on digital transformation and a much deeper dive into the data center, what that means, what the solutions are, what the challenges are. So we hope to see you again tomorrow, and we thank you for your time.